Hello, welcome to the Shifter Studio. I'm Coach C of Just Shift. I assist parents struggling with stress and family discord and support them as they navigate their shift back to parental peace. Tonight is day 4 of Navigating Parenthood. And as we embark on this journey of dissecting parenthood and those stressors that give us agita, I want to remind you that we are not just here to list out the issues and the problems associated with the issues. We are also here to delve into modern parenting around solutions. How can we fix the problem? We have had 3 days of interesting conversation around bullying, harassment, fitting in. We have also spoken about health and wellness. And last night we spoke about technology and screen time. Today, on day 4, we are going to be taking a look at educational stress on our parenting journey. Educational stress impacts both the child and the parent for sure. And I thought that today would be a great day to unpack that together with you. Because remember, we're here to navigate parenthood together. And as always, I'm going to ask my favor. If anything that is shared here resonates with you, makes you think, makes you reflect, gets on your nerves, I'm going to ask that you like, subscribe, and share. Thank you. We appreciate you. So, how do we support our children as they navigate it all, as they navigate class, as they navigate school, as they navigate schedules, and as they navigate teacher to student relationships? Now, of course, in our brief time together, we are not going to touch on each and every stress factor around education. However, I think that the 4 that we will talk about are important ones that impact both children and their parents, and ones that I hope to offer viable solutions for. And in the comments section, I ask you to share your tips and your strategies because this is a collective. We are collaborating. No man has every answer. And through communication and sharing, we may hit on something that we haven't thought of yet. So here we go. In terms of navigating class, when I say class, of course, I mean the classroom. Sometimes children are placed in classrooms where they don't necessarily feel that they belong. Sometimes this is social emotional. Sometimes this is academic. They may feel the work is too challenging. They may feel the work is not challenging enough. They may feel that they're being harassed by a peer. They may feel that their teacher doesn't like them. So there's a lot of maybes in those formulas. There's a lot of maybes. And so our role as parents is to get to the actual, right? So if your child comes home and says, well, I don't like my class. Why don't you like your class? I would encourage you to ask specific questions. What happened today that makes you not like your classroom? What happened between you and your teacher? Or what happened between you and your friend? Or not how was school today? How did you do on your math test? How did you do on your essay? How did you do on your science experiment? The more specific the question we ask, the more specific the response, and it will help us get to the actual root of the problem. Navigating the classroom for a young person can be very, very stressful. Sometimes it could be something as simple as the clothing that they're wearing. If your child attends a school and there is a uniform policy and their uniform is not clean, or if there's no uniform policy and they can't afford, or rather, if the family can't afford, because obviously it's not on the child, the family can't afford or chooses not to spend on buying the latest name brand items. Sometimes the child feels a little struggle with navigating the space because they're being teased for their clothing. Sometimes, again, as I said earlier, it's about the academics. They may feel that they have a teacher that's not supporting them. They're struggling and the teacher is watching them struggle and not supporting. Or they feel too intimidated to speak up and say, I need help. So, how do we help our children navigate the classroom itself? How do we help our children to navigate scheduling, learning how to balance their time? Because as important as school and education is, we also have to ensure that our children have time for fun, for relaxation, for exercise, for quiet time, for using as they wish. So there has to be a balance. But sometimes, if a child has grown up with the parent scheduling everything, controlling everything, doing everything, then when they reach a certain age, they may experience a little difficulty at first learning how to balance their time. If there's a paper due on Friday and you've had 2 weeks to do the paper and you start the paper on Thursday night, that's not balancing the time appropriately. So, how do we help? What are the tips, the tools that we can support our children with to help them to balance their time more efficiently and effectively? Now, how about that student to teacher relationship? How do we help our children to navigate the student to teacher relationship? Student to teacher relationship is not the same as child to parent relationship, right? But there are some elements that are similar, right? Um, Teachers are in positions of leadership or authority over children. And sometimes that gives children pause as to how to most effectively communicate their needs, wants, and desires, because the teacher is the leader, is the person in the position of power or authority in their classroom, right? So navigating those relationships. If a child is in a classroom and he or she feels that their teacher doesn't like them, that can impact the learning experience for that child. If a child feels overlooked, meaning the teacher may not necessarily not like them, but they feel like the teacher doesn't see them because every time they raise their hand to answer a question, the teacher calls on the person to the left, the person to the right, the person behind, the person in front. But here I am waiting with my hand up to be recognized, but the teacher never calls on me. She doesn't treat me mean, but she doesn't acknowledge my presence, right? So that's an area that some children struggle with. How about a child who is struggling because they feel the teacher moves too quickly? They are on their own on the run tour up at that blackboard. They are going, and your child may be sitting there with all of the words and the meanings just over their heads. They're just there, but they're not engaged because they feel left behind. How do we help our children to navigate those spaces? And finally, how do we help our children to speak up? Speak up when there is a concern, regardless of what the concern is. How do we teach our children to speak up so that concerns are addressed as they occur, as opposed to building up as if the water in a tea kettle is blowing the top? How do we support our children in learning how to speak up when necessary, whether that be speak up to a peer or speak up to a staff member. How do we help our children navigate these things? As I said, these four items, these four areas of stress are surely not the only areas of stress that a parent may experience during the educational process. However, I feel that they are important. So, as I said earlier, we're not just here to list what those stresses are. We are here to offer viable solutions and also to encourage you in the comment section to offer your own strategies of support, right? I'm one person, you're millions of people. Let's help each other out. Okay. One strategy that I would recommend: develop open lines of communication with your children. And this happens long before school even starts, right? Our children have to know that we are listening to them, that we are paying attention to them, that we care what they have to talk about. So, active listening with your child, right? In school and out of school, it's important that our children feel heard and seen. So when your child comes up to tell you something, look them straight in the eye. Be able to paraphrase back what it is they said to you. Ask them specific questions about what it is they shared. Let them know that you are paying attention, that you are listening, and that you are concerned. The more a child feels that his or her parent actually cares about what they have to say and what they're going through, the easier it is for that child to share their obstacles with you so that you guys could work on them together and get to the next level. How do we teach our children to speak up? A term that I use for speaking up when it comes to children and adults is advocating. How do we teach our children to advocate for themselves as opposed to reacting? Whether it's peer to peer or child to adult, in the span of kindergarten to 12th grade, let's just stop K to 12, your child will experience a negative issue where he or she feels powerless, feels they don't have a say, feels they don't have a voice. How do we teach our children to advocate for themselves rather than react? As a classroom teacher, before I became a school leader, I would encourage my scholars all the time. And actually, I still encourage them in this way. I would, tell them, if an adult does something that makes you feel bad or that you think is unfair, do not react to what they do. This is a trained thing. It is not easy, and you won't get it correct right off the bat. However, do not react. And here's the reason why. If I, as a teacher, if I look at a student, for example, and say, that dress is ugly, and the child says back to me, well, your suit is ridiculous too. What is going to get the attention of the person trying to mediate the problem? 9 times out of 10, it's going to be the response, right? They're going to look at the child and say, well, you spoke inappropriately to an adult. You insulted an adult. And the action that led to you sharing that, retorting that insult back, that incident is going to be forgotten because you, child, dared to say something sassy back to an adult who said something sassy to you. I am imploring you, parents, please, please, please help your children to understand that when they refuse to react to an issue, they have the power. So when an adult, a staff member, whether it be a teacher, cafeteria worker, principal, when an adult does something to your child that makes them feel bad, makes them feel angry, makes them feel unseen, please encourage your child to open up a Chromebook. And if they don't have Chromebooks, open up a notebook. Now, of course, I'm speaking about children that are of an age to manipulate these two things. So maybe we're talking about fourth grade on up, right? If there's no Chromebook, open a notebook. Write down everything that that adult said to you. Write down what you did after the adult said what they said. Take that home, share it with the parents. Parents, you contact the school and say that my child shared this with me. Okay? Again, staff member does something not nice or makes a child, even if it's inadvertently, even if it's by accident, adult makes a child feel unseen or feel as if they're not cared for or respected. Encourage your child as opposed to reacting, as opposed to insulting, as opposed to yelling, as opposed to storming out, as opposed to cussing. Please have your child write down what that adult said. Write down what the adult said. Write down how it made you feel after they said it. And then take that home and share it with your parents. If your child has a computer or a Chromebook, I would recommend having your child send you an email where he or she lists what actually was said and how they felt. And hopefully they're able to report, I did not react, right? We do not want them to react. When we react, we give away our power. Don't react. We're going to respond, but we're going to respond with the help of our parents. So that's teaching your children how to advocate for themselves, because advocating does not mean that you don't think that what happened was important or your feelings don't matter. When you advocate and you advocate in ways that can yield the change that you actually want, it's a victory. So again, parents, one of the ways that we can help our children to navigate the educational spaces that bring them stress, then in turn bring you stress, is to teach them how to advocate for themselves. Teach them not to react to an adult or a staff member saying something inappropriate. Bring it home. Bring it home so that their forever support, whomever that is, can be made aware, and then they contact the school for clarity. Lastly, this is something that's very easy to do, and parents, I encourage you all to do it. Once you find out who your child's teachers will be, in some spaces you find that out the summer before. In some spaces you may receive a letter in August saying, hey, my name is, I will be your child's sixth grade teacher, right? Once you find out who your child's teacher is, be on the offense in terms of that relationship. Send an email to your child's teacher. Introduce yourself. Tell the teacher some things about your child that he or she would never be able to know unless they were shared. Share your contact info. Express to the teacher that nothing is unimportant. They could call you, email you anytime. There's no restrictions when it comes to communicating with me regarding my child. And finally, lay out your hopes, your goals, and your expectations for your child's educational experience. You, parents, are a valued partner to your child's educational experience, and your carbon footprint has to be on that experience, just as the teacher's carbon footprint is. So again, take the offensive and, or rather, be on the offensive and communicate with that teacher first before something happens that the teacher has to communicate with you about that is not so constructive. You send out an email or a note. My name is, I'm the parent of, he or she really is shy. So if you could give them an opportunity to warm up before calling on them, that would really be supportive and wonderful. I hope for my child this year, I hope that they master the Dewey Decimal System. And I hope that they learn how to write a 5-paragraph essay. I am here to support your relationship with my child. If there are any concerns or questions, here is my contact information. Please don't be afraid to reach out. I am expecting and welcoming any and all communication with you, because parents, you are partners. You are partners. You are not on the sidelines. You're partners. So make sure you set your line in the sand too. You have some expectations. You have some desires as it pertains to your child. So make sure you make those known. Okay, shifters, as I said, these were 4 areas I thought were very important, and just a handful of strategies that could help you navigate your parental stress around those areas. But again, shifters, in the comments section, if you would not mind, add a strategy that addresses some area of parental stress around education so that we can learn from one another. And with that, I wish you all the best of days. Day 5 is on the horizon, and I'm excited to chat with you again. Take